Hi folks, this is In Case You Missed It, iBooks Author Part 1. We're going to start by opening up a Finder window, clicking on Applications, and scrolling down until we find iBooks Author. Now we're going to be focusing on the Author app as opposed to iBooks itself, and I want to show you the two different icons. iBooks Author has the pencil in it. That represents that this is going to be the book creating, as opposed to the ebook consuming app, which is iBooks. I'm going to open up iBooks Author. What pops up are the templates that you can use in iBooks Author. This looks very similar to the Pages launch. Now, it's worth noting that iBooks Author was originally designed to create ebooks that are specifically consumed on tablets, e-readers, your Kindle, so forth. And so their default orientation or their page layout is in landscape. So there's a lot more templates for landscape e-readers than there are for portrait. That being said, iBooks Author does allow you to create either, but you do have to commit to one or the other. When it comes to printing an iBooks Author file, you're going to want to make sure that you're in portrait templates, because those are going to work best with any printed export or PDF creation. If you do print in portrait, just know that your paper will have to be printed in landscape. You can't really change the orientation just to print. It's going to have to be printed out in landscape. Because I'm going to be looking at a lot of the media features of iBooks Author in future sessions, I'm going to pick one of these landscape options because they're very media heavy. As you see, there's big pictures across most of these types of templates. And I'm going to choose editorial because it's a pretty good blend of both media as well as text. iBooks Author resembles the old Pages layout, where along the left-hand side you have some page previews. Up along the top you have your media objects, text boxes, shapes, tables, charts. And then we have this unique one that we call widgets. And this is going to be covered in iBooks Author Part 2, because these are the interactive elements that you can add to an ebook that would normally not be available to you in a printed book. Along the right-hand side, up in the top right, you have the old inspector tool, which is going to be the tools that are the detail aspects of all of the elements in an iBook. And then you also have access to your media. And this is media from, as far as audio, from both iTunes and GarageBand. For photos, that means you can pull in iPhoto items as well as Photo Booth. And then the media that you can pull into ebooks, and this is unique again to an interactive ebook, are movies. And you'll see that you can pull movies both from the movies folder, iPhoto, so if you've imported movies from a camera or your smartphone, and then also again from Photo Booth. Part 1 really focused on getting your first chapter laid out. In your templates, you'll notice that there is an established hierarchy already with the chapters, sections, and then the pages. I want to point out at the top that there is the availability to create a title page. And also unique again to an ebook is intro media. So if you have a video, for example, that overviews the entire book, you can also drag an image in here, but either of those types of media are basically an introduction to the rest of the book. Table of contents is unique, and this is one of those things that is automatically generated by iBooks Author. You'll notice that chapter 1.1, this is section 1, right now is untitled. So these two correspond to each other. As we add more sections, there will be more pages to the table of contents. I want to also point out that the media used in chapter 1 is used and linked to the background of my table of contents. So there's a lot of linking within the book to help auto-generate these preview pages up along the top. That also applies to the glossary, but again, that's a part 2 item that's related to widgets and the interactivity within iBooks Author. What I wanted to show you first is how to change the chapter titles and then add sections within chapters. So let's get started by changing the chapter, which is right now labeled as Untitled. I'm going to first click on the thumbnail, and then I'm going to right click. This would be a 2-finger click, or you'd hold down and click then on that to bring up the right click menu. You'll notice you have a few options here. This menu is one of the ways to rearrange the pages or sections in your iBook. You can also add pages or insert pages in between. And also, this is a way to change the existing layout of this chapter cover page. So, for example, if I wanted to eliminate some of this text at the bottom, I could use this preface layout instead. But I skipped over, and I do want to rename the chapter. So this is going to be a biography. I'm going to start this with my life as chapter 1. And then I want to add sections that talk about my early childhood, my experience in middle school, and then in high school. So section 1 is already pre-made in this template. So again, I'm going to right-click on this thumbnail and then select Rename. So I'm going to then add a section for early childhood. And you notice that when I change that name in the thumbnail, it is reflected in the actual preview of the page. So watch out for that linking. This is the best way to keep, again, the table of contents, your titles, and your chapter names and the thumbnails page all consistent. To demonstrate that, I want to go back to my table of contents. You'll notice that chapter 1, the title has changed. This chapter 1 represents my life now. And section 1, which was renamed to early childhood, also that change was reflected. Let's now add a section for my middle school and also high school experiences. To do that, I'm going to go up to the top, click on Add Pages, and then I'm going to select a new section. Sections go within chapters, so it's important to remember that hierarchy. There is no option for units. So if you're approaching iBooks Author as a way to create your own textbook, you can't have that traditional textbook hierarchy of having units above your chapters. You're going to have to stick with chapters. I'm going to add another section. And then what you'll see is I have another section that is labeled section 1. That's because it's outside of my chapter hierarchy. So how do I fix that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it and make sure that it's associated with chapter 1. Now it's out of order, so I'm just going to drag it down. So you'll see that I can rearrange these pages and these sections pretty well, and I can avoid having sections associated with the wrong chapter or fix those issues by dragging and dropping the icons around on top of each other. I'm going to rename section 2 now to middle school. And I'm going to add another section after this one and rename that one as high school. And it looks like it associated that properly because it's now labeled section 3. So I have all of my sections laid out. I'm going to double check that everything worked in my table of contents. And you'll see I have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 now. I want to change gears here just a little bit. Up to this point, I've been adding chapters and sections, designing my book around an outline. And I haven't been very focused on the text that's actually in the chapters. You'll notice down here that this is lorem ipsum. This is just placeholder text, and you'll notice it gives you an idea of how it looks, but this is just a bunch of gibberish. Now, if I had instead wanted to base my iBooks author design around existing writing, I can actually insert or import a Pages or Word document into this program, and it'll auto format a chapter or section around that existing document. In order to do that, I'm going to go up to Insert and then I'm going to highlight over Insert Chapter From, and then I'm going to select Pages or Word Document. Now I've got something on my desktop. This is a previous writing sample that I used to model an assignment with students. It's a shoes essay, to briefly give you an idea. And what I want to do is then click Import. And then I want to choose either chapter or section. You'll notice that I can add all the different types of sections or chapters like I can up here in the Add Pages menu. And so I'm going to select just a chapter, because this essay really is about values and about summarizing the journey that I would have taken through these 3 sections of early, middle, and high school childhood. I'm going to import that Word document, and what you should notice is I now have a Chapter 2 that is labeled after the file name. So it doesn't auto-detect a title within the Word document. Instead, it changes the Chapter 2 title to the file name, and I'll need to go back and rename that by right-clicking on the Chapter 2 and then clicking Rename. I'll just call this Shoes Essay real quick. This was a narrative essay that used shoes as a metaphor of talking about a person's journey through their life. What I want to point out is the placeholder text at the bottom hasn't changed, but instead the text that was in my Word document is now spread out in the pages underneath the chapter. So this is just a chapter title page, and I can change the caption of this picture if I wanted to. I could also just highlight, click on it, and delete all that text entirely, and then I can get into the actual body of the chapter itself. If I wanted to change this page layout, I want to point out down here that this drop down, which we have not talked about, is where I can change the page layout. So if I was uncomfortable with the current 2-column layout, I can break that down into something smaller in 3 columns, or I can use a full page view and change it to just 1 column of text. And what you'll notice in these thumbnails is it's going to auto format and then extend that down. So this chapter page was only 1 column now, but the second page is 2 still, so I need to change that one. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how to change the template formats. It's worth noting here too that before we get into part 2 in following Tech Tuesdays, or in case you missed it videos, I want to point out that we can add some static stuff in here as well. So let's say that I wanted to add pictures. I'm going to just scroll through here and add something really nondescript, a picture of a chair, and I can drag that around, and I want you to notice that the text automatically formats around that. So that's a really nice feature. So this gives you an idea of how to use iBooks Author to create a short book. Again, part 2 of iBooks is learning how to use the widgets and interactive features. I want to just give you a preview of what that could look like in Tech Tuesday or in future videos. The widgets allow you to add picture galleries, so something that you click on the thumbnails and then navigate through. You can also drop in videos and also questions to self-check in chapters. So where a textbook traditionally has the questions or comprehension questions at the end, you can also add, with this electronic book format, multiple choice questions that students can check themselves after engaging with the text. There's an option to embed a keynote into the book itself. So if you're treating this as a textbook, people use this feature quite a bit. There's also options, the interactive images, and also the option to add HTML. This HTML option is what you can use to borrow other widgets from the web, and those then show up in the book itself. Something else that we're going to cover in part 2 is going to be the glossary, which is where you can add terms. And what iBooks will do is it will scan that term and show you where it is in the book, so it actually indexes your book for that term, and it'll show you where it shows up. So a really great vocab accommodation within the book itself, and allows you to add your custom definitions. You can also add related glossary terms and really make a very interactive vocabulary experience in your customized textbook or other type of book as well. Thanks for tuning in to this in case you missed it. You can check out my YouTube page or website for other tips, tricks, and tutorials on Mac OS X programs like this.